Hi, hello, and good evening. My name is Susie Gillette, and I'm the current president of the Front Royal Women's Resource Center. Thank you all for joining us this evening for our annual membership gathering. To briefly introduce you to the Front Royal Women's Resource Center, we are a nonprofit dedicated to empowering women to change their world by connecting women to each other and helping women and girls through our grants, networking, and programs. Please visit us at www.frwrc.org for more information. And hopefully, I think Tina or Barbara will put that link in the chat. The purpose of tonight's gathering is to update both old and new members of the Front Royal Women's Resource Center on the exciting programs that we offer. We're going to do something different this year and highlight one of our many programs. Tonight, we will highlight our Dare to Dream program with grant recipients as our moderator and guests. The evening will demonstrate how your membership dues and donations are supporting and uplifting women in our community as we connect our members, both new and current, with one of our most powerful programs. The purpose of the Dare to Dream grant is to provide women living or working in Warren County opportunities to enrich their professional and personal lives. The Dare to Dream program was initiated in 1999 by our founding mother, Jo Ellen McNeil. In 2022, Dare to Dream awarded a total of 7,000. I'm back. I'm going to turn off my video because of the connections around here. All right, I'm back. In conjunction with the Dare to Dream program, the Elaine Bromfield Memorial Scholarship was established in 2012 to honor the memory of Elaine Bromfield, a passionate advocate for women's rights. Scholarships are awarded to women of Warren County in financial need to pursue educational goals. The applicants for the Elaine Bromfield Scholarship are chosen from the Dare to Dream application process. This year, we awarded 2 scholarships of $1,500 to 2 amazing women for a combined total of $10,000 at the Dare to Dream event. In addition to the Dare to Dream program, your membership and donations support several other unique programs. The Spotlight program started in 2015, highlights important contributions of women in the Front Royal community. The Kim South Girl Grant is an annual grant initiated in 2006 by Mary Ellen South in memory of her daughter. This grant is given to either young women of middle school age who live in Warren County or a program within Warren County. The goal of the grant is to inspire future leadership, confidence, and success. It is not a reward-based program based on academic achievement. In addition, our Women's Wellness Workshop, co-hosted and co-sponsored with Phoenix House, Samuels Library, and Valley Health, is an annual virtual event created in conjunction with the Laurel Center in 2018. A morning of workshops highlights several areas of women's health and wellness. Women Gathering is a monthly event that was started in 2017. It's moderated and hosted by Eka Kapiotis, and this virtual program highlights women in Warren and surrounding counties. I'd like to introduce you to tonight's moderator, Eka Kapiotis. Eka is a current board member and a 2020 Dare to Dream grant recipient. Eka is no stranger to this organization. She has been a helping and healing force among us for many years. Many of you here learned Reiki from her through the Valley Health training program she established and have experienced her healing work in her private practice. Eka is always seeking more effective ways to help others heal. She specializes in Cranio-Sacral Therapy, an advanced, gentle, and powerful modality, dolphin-assisted therapy, and helps women discover themselves through nature programs. Thanks to a Dare to Dream grant in 2020, Eka recently made significant progress on her dream of becoming a certified cranial-sacral therapist at the very highest level, that of Diplomate. In addition to Eka, we are fortunate to have 2 of our past Dare to Dream recipients join us tonight. Jenny Statler, Dare to Dream recipient in 2021, and Hama Bement, Dare to Dream recipient in 2016. On that note, I will hand off to tonight's moderator, Eka Kapiotis.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm looking at the screen and let's see. Anyway, I'm really thrilled to be here tonight and to be able to introduce both Jenny and Hannah. Hannah was a woman gathering guest a number of years ago, and we had a dynamite evening talking about salamanders and little things that crawl around Warren County under rocks and in water. So it was really great. And Jenny, I've not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I understand you have some really great things going, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about you. Let me just first introduce Jenny, and Jenny will talk a bit about herself and her program, and then I'll introduce Hannah. So Jenny grew up visiting Front Royal on the weekends at their family farm, and she returned here from working in Manhattan when the coronavirus hit. So it sounds like she's had a dream of starting a vineyard for a very long time, spent time in Spain and Argentina, learning all about wines and the process of growing grapes. And you also reconnected with a friend in Front Royal that has helped you make your dream come true. So I'm looking forward to hearing all the details, Jenny.
Very
Thank
true.
you, and
Great.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Am I on? Can I talk?
You are on, yes.
Right. Hello,
Tell us.
everybody. Sorry, I have a very strange normal job where I don't use Zoom at all. So this is all brand new to me. But I'm Jenny Statler, and thank you so much for the introduction. I've met some of you only virtually, and then some of my family's here, so I really appreciate the support. I think that's how I got to where I am right now, is all of my friends and family support. But yeah, I'm starting a vineyard in Front Royal, Virginia, and it was all possible, not just from friends and family, but because of this community of women who were so generous. And when I heard about what the Dare to Dream grant was, I was so excited to apply for it because it aligns so much with our values of what we're trying to do with the vineyard, of supporting women, supporting gay people. Like, there's so many things that we want to bring into this vineyard that's not just growing grapes, but actually helping the community at large. So I'm very appreciative to the Front Royal Women's Resource Center, first and foremost, for being our first donators to making our dreams happen. So I really appreciate it.
Yay. I'm going to send you a little heart. We do that on
Oh, don't know how to do that. But thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, tell us a little bit, Jenny, about what brought you into this world to begin with. I mean, what interested you about grapes and wine?
Yeah. Well, who here loves wine? I know I do. So I actually grew up going to Front Royal. I never knew about Virginia's wine country, obviously, until it just started popping up recently as a really up and coming wine area. But my personal experience is that I was bartending in New York, and I was managing a bar and helped investors curate this natural wine program that we were starting. So I would find these biodynamic wines from Spain and Argentina and France and Italy. I tried to research them to see who we would be supporting, because I do like supporting women-run businesses or minority-run businesses. So I definitely got a little taste of trying to help an actual bar in Manhattan be able to support what I believe in as well. My past, you said I lived in Spain and Argentina, which is true. I love traveling. I speak fluent Spanish, and I started traveling when I was 17 in the Dominican Republic. I lived there for 4 years, and then I studied abroad in Argentina, and I would go to the respective wine region, Mendoza, all the time. And I made these great connections with the vintners there, learned about how they grow grapes, which is fascinating. And then I graduated from Elon University and I moved to Spain and Madrid. And I would go up to Rioja and I would lead tours of people up to the wine regions and other places like Barcelona and Portugal, and just show them around and kind of work with other tour guides that know a lot more about the region than I did. So I started getting really interested in wine when I was studying abroad and then when I was living in Spain.
It sounds so wonderful. So you really learned it from the inside out, not just
Yeah.
book learning, huh?
It's funny how life works, of how you never think any of these things are going to connect, like how much I love wine, what my travels were, what my bartending experience was. And it's so kismet that it all comes together in this amazing way. And that you guys, as women, powerful women in town, were the first ones to support me.
I'm so glad we did. It is really an amazing organization, and I'm so glad that you're part of it now. So, and now we can say we supported a vineyard. I think we've done
Yeah.
lots of interesting things. So tell us a little bit more about your vines and where you're going to be and what you envision. I mean, do you envision it as a place that people will visit?
Yeah, so I guess I should tell you what the name of the vineyard is. It's Tilt Vineyards, Tilt. We wanted, basically, it's me and my partner, Evan Ulrich, who is the end all be all of knowing how to grow grapes in every type of climate. He's had an amazing, I think, 9+ years experience working on vineyards in Northern California and in Michigan, and then at Glen Manor, which is arguably the best vineyard in Virginia. They have amazing wines, and he was the guy who did everything from seed to bottle. So again, fate had it that when I moved from New York City to Front Royal, Virginia, and my only friend happened to be working at the best vineyard in town, and I didn't want to live alone on a farm, so I convinced him to live with me. And he was like, well, let's test the soil and let's see if it's even worth trying to do this, because we'd always just joke around whenever he'd come down and talk about it. And I'd be like, oh, it'd be so cool if we started a vineyard here. So we actually dug 6 feet in the ground, tested the soil, looked at the soil layers. I'm learning all of this as I go. It's called soil mapping. And we basically found that we have great soil and we don't want to use pesticides and herbicides. We're trying to do as much organic biodynamic practices as possible. So instead of putting, fertilizers on the soil, we decided to do the cover crop method of enriching the soil naturally. So we did daikon radish and hairy vetch and ryegrass that really digs into that thick clay that we have in certain places. And we've waited 2 years and the soil looks amazing, and now we're ready to plant. So on May 7th, where are we now? It's the 21st. On May 7th, we're planting 3,800 vines on our first 4-acre field.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Wow.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. And so how long will it take before you actually start producing wine, do you think?
So from what I understand from my expert co-founder, Evan, he says that it takes about 3 years for the what are they called? Non-mature vines to grow and to produce fruit. So there's a little bit that we need to do in the meantime, but within 3 years, we should be getting a pretty solid group, a good harvest of good fruit. And then 5 years is kind of once it's the good grapes that you want to start drinking.
Well, that's great. So it's definitely a long-term plan.
It is. I'm actually really happy that we've got into it early, because it's kind of what we're trying to do is be different. Why did we choose the name Tilt? Is because it's this big, bold 4-letter word. Every vineyard that I've been to has been called, Cedar Creek Valley or something, we want to just spice it up and make it really fun and young and new. And I think my generation especially loves the idea of like contributing to a cause of, organic practices or women and LGBT run businesses that we pay with our values. And I think that so far we've been able to raise over $20,000 since your first grant, which I'm really excited about. And that's going all to this vineyard.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I would like to invite anyone to pop a question into the chat if you'd like to. And then we'll begin to wrap up that part of the conversation. But what is it? So let me just say, I didn't say a lot about it, but I just am thrilled really that you are interested in really working with that population and doing what it is that you're doing and really working with the earth.
I think Front Royal is also just on the precipice. It's this beautiful little town that's very supportive. And I'm so excited to be doing this in Front Royal, I think is another big thing I wanted to emphasize, that the more we're getting out of this pandemic and I'm able to go out and see the community, since I moved in and wasn't able to go out and meet anybody, I tell somebody about what we're doing and they're so excited and they want to join or they want to contribute, or once we have our bottles, they want to help sell them. I mean, it's a really supportive community. I'm very grateful.
I think it's exactly what we should be doing in this area. Exactly. It's so beautiful. We really should be. And
we need more wine and more community.
That.
Yes.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing. Yeah. So we do have some questions. Where is your vineyard located?
So it is right off Strasbourg Road, so 55, kind of between Front Royal and Strasbourg. And it's at my family's farm. So we've been going to this place since before I was born. My father, who's in this Zoom right now, bought this beautiful, hi Dad, Stuart, shout out, bought this beautiful piece of property that had a couple acres, one 4-acre field, another 15-acre field of pastured land that we've only hayed since I've been there. So I'm really excited to start doing something with that land that's already been asking for something to be planted on it. And he had this vision of just, bringing us out there every weekend. We would run around, there's cows there. It was very rustic. There was no AC or heat or it was very different than it is now. And it was just my happy place. It was the best. We wanted to go there all the time and we'd always bring our friends in high school. And when the pandemic hit, the first thing that I thought was, A, I don't want to be in New York. And B, where would I go for the apocalypse, which is what I thought was happening. And I'm like, I'm going to the farm. Nobody lives there. There's a lot of projects I can do. And it's my happy place. So that's why we kind of started everything there. And then everything just unfolded perfectly the way it was. Oh, my sister's answering people's questions on the chat. That's nice.
And will you be growing anything else in addition to?
Yes. So we do need to raise a lot of funds. It's a very big project. And what we're trying to do in the meantime, besides in-kind donations, we want to, we're starting the CSA. I don't know if anybody knows about CSAs. I just started learning about them, but it's a community supported agriculture program. And we have a big plot of the field that we've tilled and we've put deer fence around. And now we're doing a bunch of peppers and kale and collards, and we're going to basically package them, put our branding on it to get people to start knowing about Tilt. And we're going to deliver fresh veggies to people's houses this summer. So we actually have 3 spots left. If anybody in Front Royal wants some fresh veggies, put it on the chat or contact us on our website. Susie asked what my website is.
Yep,
And
what is your website?
it's www.tiltvineyards.com. It's pretty easy. And on
Yes.
Instagram, I don't know if you guys are big Instagrammers, but it's just Tilt Vineyards. We also have a GoFundMe page, which if you go to our website, you'll see there's a donate button, and we take any and all donations. If you have $5, we're so appreciative. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do in the meantime, to start raising awareness of what we're doing and to get our name out there and to just make some money in the meantime for the vineyard, for all the other upfront costs like trellising, deer fencing, draining, more vines. So yeah, there's a lot. I'm excited. I see it says, do you deliver how far? We do deliver, and right to your door. If you live in Front Royal or in the DC area, in Arlington or Alexandria or Washington, DC, we will drop it off at your door. And there's 2 different versions of the CSA. There's a big package of vegetables and a smaller package of vegetables, $300 for the whole summer, and you get free vegetable, the best veggies. So if
I'll
you're
be
interested,
contacting you.
get a hold of us. Yes.
So
What other
are you gonna,
questions?
will you
Sorry.
have a celebration when you do your first planting?
Yes, so we actually have a planting party. I don't know if anybody's available or around on May 7th, but all hands on deck. We'll take anything, like if you're around and you just want to come by and help us plant, we have a whole system that we're gonna implement and just put the vines in the ground. And the first vines are from you guys, so I'm really excited. If you're around May 7th, it's the day before Mother's Day. I didn't want to ruin people's Mother's Day plans and take them away from their mothers. So if you'd like to do something that Saturday, come on by to 411 Wakeman Mill Road and we'll be planting vines.
All right. We have one more question, and I'm going to see, because some of these are a little bit, yes. One more question. Are you considering providing a venue for the arts and cultural activities?
Yes, the biggest thing that I really want to do once this gets going and once we have the vines is we hopefully want to make a winery out of this, which will take more funding and energy, but that's our main goal. And what I want to do is bring high school students from Front Royal or DC or whoever wants to come out and teach them about viticulture practices, because I know myself growing up, I never learned about agriculture, and a lot of people don't think of it as an amazing, viable way to make a living and to teach people about the ground and what we're eating and where we're eating it from, and to connect yourself back to the earth. So hopefully in the future, we will be able to start these programs to support the causes that we believe in.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny. The other things that are on the chat are just information, offer to put it in the e-blast. We'll be, the Women's Resource Center will be connecting with you.
You
for
guys have
more,
been
and
so helpful and supportive
Yeah.
to me, and I really appreciate it. And I want to be helpful to you in any way possible. So if you need
great.
anything from me, let me know. And I'll definitely put all of the links in the chat. I think it will be helpful for everybody to see it.
Yeah, they're already there.
Oh, good.
Yep, already there. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. And can people, I know some people connect on Facebook as well. Do you have does Tilt Vineyards have a Facebook page?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
There is
great.
a Facebook page.
Well, thank you so much. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. And
It is
wish you
exciting.
all the
I did
luck.
not realize my life was going to turn this direction, and I'm very happy and grateful to everybody
Yeah.
who made this possible, including you guys.
Great. Well,
My
thank you so
first
much, Jenny.
supporters. Thank you.
Yay. All right. All right. So thank you. And let's go to Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Great. I'm really, excuse me, happy to have you on here today too, because, like I said, you are also a very interesting person doing some pretty cool things, teaching the children. So just as a bit as in way of introduction, you have an extensive background in science and environmental research, but realized that teaching was really your passion and seeing kids light up. And nothing sparks a kid like seeing salamanders and little creepy crawly things. So, but also, which I didn't know, is that you have done a lot of internships and volunteering in addition to your work, your career, and you've worked with the Cleveland Zoo, the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, the Smithsonian School of Conservation, and that you have a Master's of Environmental Science degree through the Yale School of the Environment. That is quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. It's been a long and winding road.
Yeah. Well, and so now you're teaching biology at Mountain Vista Governor's School, which you say is your dream job. Why is that your dream job?
Well, I get to work with some of my favorite people, young scientists. I get to take them outside and explore the natural world, and I get paid to do it. So best of all worlds. Plus, I work with some pretty great people.
Wonderful. So tell us about your grant and how receiving a grant impacted you.
Certainly. So, like you said, I'm excuse me, my background is in environmental science. Growing up, I wanted to be a vet. I wanted to then be a conservationist and go into the rainforests, which I did a little bit here and there. But really, in every job, internship, volunteer work, et cetera, that I did, there was always a component where I had to, do some sort of outreach, teach people, et cetera. And it was often kind of my favorite part of the job. It's just really fun to get to nerd out about science and get people excited about what I'm excited about. But also, I got to a point in my career where it was getting harder to facilitate my young and growing family and, being a working mom. And so I made the choice to switch careers into teaching. And, that can be kind of tricky to do without having to go back to school for many more years and get your teaching certification. And I did it by joining a private school to start. And so I was teaching at a private school, and they subsidized half of the cost of the certification courses that I needed to take. And those were virtual courses that I was taking in addition to working basically 80 hours a week as a new teacher. And then, being able to afford that with a young and growing family and a new home and not a terribly high teacher's salary was a lot. So it meant a lot to me that the Front Royal Women's Resource Center was willing to support my journey to become a certified Virginia public school teacher, and getting those last few courses done, and so that I was officially certified. I know my 10-year license, very, very long term there. It's very nice not to have to fuss about it for another 10 years. But it also allowed me to then pursue this position that I'm currently at Mountain Vista Governor's School when that job came open. And so now I am working, it's a public school program that serves high school students from 7 surrounding counties. Actually, they come to us for a morning of advanced STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I get to teach them all about biology and ecology and microbiology. And yeah, it's just absolutely my dream job. I spent this afternoon actually with several of my students at a native plant landfill seeding party. So, just from one joyous thing to the next with these kids. And, part of that is because I was able to be certified, and part of that was because y'all supported me, which I greatly appreciate.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I really wanted to ask you, like, to say some of your favorite days. And I know about this program of planting on the landfills, and
Mhm.
I don't know if everyone does. So maybe you could just say a little bit about that, and then a couple other stories, because you do have a very interesting, you do some really fun and interesting things.
I try to keep it interesting. That way I don't get bored and my students don't get bored. But
Yeah.
yeah, this part of the benefit of having had a background in science, actually doing environmental science and research, is that now that I'm a teacher, I can share some of that experience with the students, and I'm always looking for projects to get my students involved in hands-on real-world research. And so last summer, I came across this group on Facebook called Sustainability Matters, which is this great nonprofit that has started out of Shenandoah County and just grown throughout the region. And they have kind of spearheaded this project called Making Trash Bloom, where they are getting funding and working with local landfills to encourage them to, so if you don't know, when a landfill is full, it's like this little hill of trash, and they have to cover it with a certain thickness of clay and rocks, and often thick plastic, and then soil, and then they have to plant stuff on it to hold that soil in place so it doesn't erode away. And unfortunately, in the past, the kind of common practice was to just buy whatever seed was cheap and would grow fast, so that it would hold the soil in place. And oftentimes that meant turf grass, or even invasive, non-native invasive species like a Lespedeza, this big bushy thing. And that's great for the purpose of holding soil in place. It's not great in terms of having the land be at all useful by any creatures. Now, don't get me wrong, landfills are important. I'm very grateful for modern sanitary waste management. But what if we could take these thousands of acres of basically green desert that these turf grass invasive hills are, and convert them to native pollinator supporting meadows, so that this land that can't be used for anything for decades after being a closed landfill has a purpose and a value, and is helping to combat some of the habitat loss that we're having across the globe. And so this project is kind of trying to find landfills that are willing to take a chance on this. And then my students are going to be collecting data on whether or not it's successful, what seeds are able to grow, what pollinators actually do come in and use these native plants. And then also, how good are these plants at holding that soil in place and keeping too much water from soaking down into the trash layers, which is what the landfill managers want to see. And so if we can get data that says, yes, this works, and maybe even these native plants are better at it than the other plants, not just as good as, that could empower landfills across the nation to get involved in this sort of thing. So really cool initiative that I'm excited to be involved with.
It is really cool. I'm so glad, and it must be just so satisfying to be part of that. That is great. Tell us another day, a day in the life of Hannah, the
All right, so
teacher.
let's see, another thing. So one of the reasons I was so excited about my students coming out today is it's actually their spring break, and they volunteered to come to this Making Trash Bloom's landfill event today on their own time. They're just amazing. But another student who I worked with over her spring break on her own time came to Shenandoah River State Park with me last week to learn a little bit about what are called vernal pools. And so if you don't know what a vernal pool is, it's a temporary depression. Well, it's a depression in the landscape that temporarily fills with water for part of the year. So typically they dry up in the summer, and that's important because they can't host permanent fish populations. And so why does that matter? Well, because if you're a certain type of salamander, your eggs are these big jelly balls of wonderful baby salamanders that make perfect fish food. They don't have any defenses against fish predation. And so they only really can be successful and stay in a landscape long term if they have these fish-free pools called vernal pools. And so I work with a group called the Virginia Master Naturalists and have a program of like 50 volunteers we've trained. And we survey about 100 vernal pools in a 5-county region for these salamanders' eggs, as well as a species of frog called the wood frog. And just to keep an eye on these pools, see whether they are healthy, see whether these amphibian populations are doing well or not. And we've got about 6 years of data now, which is starting to be a big enough data set to kind of look at trends. How is maybe climate change affecting rainfall patterns, impacting whether or not these pools are staying wet long enough? Are they, you know, our pools have been thawing earlier and earlier in the year. And so are those salamanders breeding earlier in the year? And is that causing issues with ponds freezing with their eggs in it in ways that they wouldn't have used to do? And so getting my students involved in that project as well has been really rewarding.
Oh, that is so cool. And it's and if I recall correctly, didn't you say that there are more salamanders in Warren County than like anywhere in the world? Was it
Not Warren County, but in the Appalachian Mountains.
Appalachian Mountains?
The
Okay.
Appalachian Mountains are a hotspot for salamanders. So one of the theories is that our modern families of salamanders evolved in the Appalachian region and spread from there. And so, you know, in Warren County, we do have like over 50 species of salamanders, if you could believe it. I have not seen all 50, but I've seen quite a few. But, you know, there are studies that show that if you were to dig up, you know, 1 square meter of soil in an Appalachian forest and weigh just the biomass of just the salamanders who are living in the soil and in the leaf litter, etc., it would outweigh the biomass of all the other vertebrate organisms in that forest area combined. So there are more salamanders by weight than deer and chipmunks and birds and raccoons and bears and people. We just don't tend to see them because they're pretty secretive, but they're there and they're so important for eating insects, to keep the insect populations under control, and then to move that nutrition up the food web into all of the many organisms that eat them. They're just absolutely foundational to a healthy ecosystem.
That is so cool. Thank you. I'm going to say again, if anyone has any questions or any comments, please do go ahead and put them in the chat. Barbara, Maureen says, love that native plant landfill seeding program, and go Hannah.
Thank you.
And Barbara Way also says, thanks to you. And Tina says, wow. And also Tina Johnson, what can be done to support them on property? That's a great question.
That is a great question. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that local landowners or homeowners can do to support salamander populations, as well as other wildlife. So I have been working with my students this semester to learn a lot more about, you know, what are some actual actions? You know, you always hear, okay, we can recycle, but is recycling, does it really, you know, do much? Okay, we can turn off the lights, but is that really making an impact on the amount of electricity being used, carbon being released, et cetera? One of the most, without a doubt, impactful conservation actions that anyone with access to a bit of land or even just a pot on your apartment balcony is plant native plants. So native plants are these species of plants that have existed in our landscape for thousands or millions of years. And why they are more valuable or more useful in our ecosystem than whatever invasive burning bush or butterfly bush or calorie pear or whatnot you might buy at the local hardware store nursery, is that they've been in this landscape with our climate conditions, with our soil conditions, with our wildlife, insect, bird species for these thousands of years, co-evolving with them, which means many of our insect species depend on very specific species of plants to even be able to reproduce in a landscape. So, you know, we're all pretty familiar with the monarch butterfly, that their caterpillar has to have milkweed to eat those milkweed leaves to survive in a landscape. Well, that's just a tip of the insect specialist relationship iceberg when it comes to the majority of, 90% of our native insects, birds, etc., depend on those sort of very specific plant relationships. And so if we don't keep a diverse ecosystem of our native species of plant present in our landscape, then we lose the insects. Then we lose the birds that feed the caterpillars to their babies. I know a lot of people love having birds in their yards, but if you don't, just putting out a seed feeder is great for the adults. But did you know that 90% of most songbirds' babies' diet is caterpillars? And so you have to have those plants growing the caterpillars. So if you don't like the icky squicky crawly things, that just think of them as bird food, right? You're just putting out bird food in your yard. And so it can be as simple as planting a native oak or a native cherry or a serviceberry bush instead of a calorie pear, which is so unfortunately popular in the landscape business. So that's my native plant rant. Other things you can do in your yard are things like, shrinking the amount of space you devote to lawn. So grass, just like I said with the Making Trash Bloom program, grass is basically like a green desert. There's a little bit there to support some bits of very generalist insects. But other than that, there's not much in the way of wildlife that can make much of a living in your grass. So, shrink the area that you devote to lawn, plant native plants, leave areas of leaves down on the ground. It's so essential to overwintering insects and salamanders and toads. And then the birds can go find food in the leaves. Those are some of the easiest things. Plus, it means you don't have to spend time raking. It's a
I was going
win-win.
to say, I'm so glad my neglect turns out to be a really good thing.
Exactly. We really need to change the cultural understanding of what is good landscape management. Why fuss with bagging up the leaves and sending them to the landfill where they're just going to take up space? And you've also then bagged up and literally thrown away your fireflies and your beautiful Luna moth caterpillars and all these things that we then, look out and say, well, I remember seeing these as a kid and it's such a shame that we don't see them anymore. Well, it's because you threw them away, literally. So leave the leaves. It's that simple. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
You're welcome.
It's so true. Everything you're saying, I just could not agree with you more about that too. And I remember years ago having a friend come up and saying, "Oh, you have butterflies," and we used to have herds of butterflies in the, and now I'm as excited about as she was if I see one.
Right.
So yeah, it would be very nice for everyone to start really thinking in these kind of terms. So thank you for spreading that for us.
Certainly.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. Really appreciate you being on. We're going to take a few minutes and appreciate everything that you're doing as well for our community and our long-term community. So I'm going to invite us to open for everyone to unmute and come back on video if you can. And let's see your beautiful faces. Would anyone like to add anything to the conversation or say hello? Now would be a great time. Tina, hi.
I'm Tina with Blue Mountain Poetry Salon. And I wanted to thank the Women's Center for your support in starting my business and having adaptive technology. And also, I'm looking to partner with local businesses and venues to provide arts in the Front Royal community. So if anyone in the group has that kind of resource, I'd love to hear from you.
And can you be just a little more specific about what it is that you're looking for? And Tina, so you are actually a Dare to Dream grant recipient this year, right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking for venues where I can hold open mics that are free to the public. And an open mic, if you don't know, is just a forum where any community member can come express themselves in a positive way, sing a song, read a poem, do a dance, whatever. And it's just a wonderful way to share what we as artists and musicians have to offer to the community. And, you know, a lot of audience members come as well. And then I'm also looking for places to teach classes. I teach primarily poetry classes, usually to adults, but I do teach workshops called Tiny Poets, which are for children can be nonverbal to just beginning to write. I've worked with autistic children for years, but I've also worked with all different populations of children. And I want to provide more in the community free of charge. So I'm looking for places really to partner with. I provide 2 scholarships to each of my workshops.
Great. Thank you, Tina.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and now again, the Women's Resource Center will be glad to share your info and work with you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool too. So would anyone else like to add anything before we wrap it up? I'd like to invite you to just even take a moment to just look at our faces and think about all the connections. There are a few of us here, but there's so many of us have connected over the years to create this wonderful organization that really does belong to all of us. And just thanks again to Barbara Way and to the board and to Susie and Joyce and Maureen and Lee and Lynn and Denise and Paula, Maureen, Joey, Tina. Just wanted to thank all of you for, I just think this is an incredible organization. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Barbara or Susie.
Susie.
Susie?
Yep, here I am. Hopefully I will be able to stay on. Eka, thank you tonight for moderating, and thank you for all you have done and continue to do for the Front Royal Women's Resource Center. I also want to thank you, Jenny and Hannah, for sharing your Dare to Dream experience with our membership. It's so great to see the effect of our grants down the road. You know, we gave it to you, and you're both giving it back to the community, and that's just exactly what the goal is here. I also want to thank Barbara, our executive director, and Tina, our administrative assistants, for keeping us live and on Zoom. It's not easy, and for all they do to keep our organization running. We have an office in downtown Front Royal, and they work so hard all the time. And your donations and your membership help support us to help support them as well. And a big shout out to all our old and new members for your donations. You are the reason we can continue to bring you these first-rate programs that focus on women's issues and the women of Warren County. Please join us again next month for Women Gathering, May 19th at 7 p.m. The details for the event can be found on our website, along with any other upcoming events that we will be hosting. Finally, tonight's interview is available probably by tomorrow on both our Facebook and YouTube site. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody good night and a happy spring, and hopefully no more snow.
Yes. Thank you all so
Amen.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, Susie. Love the
you.
snow.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.